Truckers of Reddit. What's the weirdest, creepiest, scariest or most WTF thing you've seen while on the road or at a stop? Edit. Please stop with the not a trucker, but posts. Unless you directly traveled with a trucker like that lumberjack in Tennessee. Then don't post. You're not a trucker. Asking because my dad is a trucker who has no good stories. Came down a hill with a full load of grain, gross weight around 86,000 lbs. And rounded a curve doing somewhere close to 60 miles per hour. Dead ahead about 100 yards was a narrow bridge, and sitting in my lane in the middle of the bridge were several people in lawn chairs with coolers scattered around and fishing lines tossed over the side. I laid on the air horn and hit the tractor and trailer brakes and stopped about 15 feet from the lawn chairs. The people had already speeped their pants and were standing next to the bridge railing. I asked if they had noticed the no fishing off bridge signs posted on both ends of the bridge, and one of them answered, "We seen 'em, but we didn't know you was gonna be comin' this way." I just rolled up the window and pulled away. They almost won the Darwin Award. I own a truck, but just to RV around. One night in Oklahoma I stopped to take a POO. Pulled in. Parked. And walked in. Settled into a stall when the door opens and closes quickly. A quiet Spanish accented man says, "Do you know who sings this song?" No bro. Sorry, so sorry, and he's gone. And that's the night I turned down Mexican Trucker Anal. Mexican Trucker Anal should be a band name. Trucker here. A few years back, I was traveling through Ute native land in New Mexico on Highway 491. 491 used to be Route 666. But they changed it a few years back. I think people were stealing the signs. Anyways, I'm in the middle of the desert around midnight. No lights or civilization for miles. When up in the sky there's a huge orange flash. The orange flash quickly inflated into a giant ball. Bigger than the sun. It even had a fiery looking texture to it. Suddenly, the orange ball disappeared. And the entire desert sky, horizon to horizon, flashed a bright yellow, lighting up the everything around me like it was daytime. Then everything went back to normal. This all happened within a few seconds. But it was definitely the weirdest thing I've seen on the road. Just as long as it wasn't a skinwalker tapping on your window. My cousin's a long-haul driver, and he reckons the scariest thing he's ever seen was his own rig on fire. He was driving at night somewhere in the northwest of Australia when he saw some sparks in his passenger wing mirror. He stopped to check it out and saw that the rim of one of his rear wheels was glowing red hot because the wheel bearing had shat itself. Before he could even think, the tires burst into flames. He was unable to reach the fire extinguisher because of the flames, so he had to call the fire brigade and stand back. The prime mover and semi-trailer full of watermelon were engulfed by flames within a minute or two, and by the time the Furies showed up they were completely destroyed. Not the watermelons. Is a second-hand trucker story okay? My friend is a truck driver, and I asked him this same question, and boy did he deliver. My friend stopped at a truck stop in South Carolina where they had only one working shower stall and it was occupied. While waiting he heard this guy grunting furiously, and he was taking a very long time to finish. So my friend, being a brash person, opens the shower curtain to tell the dude to hurry up. Inside, the guy is standing with his back to the water, vigorously beeping a sub sandwich from the shop in the truck stop. My friend just said what the beep and closed the shower curtain and went and waited in his truck. When he went back later, the guy had left the whole sub in pieces scattered in the shower. My friend didn't end up showering that day. I feel filthy for reading that. Good job. Saw a guy with his pants around his ankles as he was passing me. I thought, that's kinda weird. Then I saw the whole side of him stroking his flaccid wiener furiously. I learned not to look down so much into cars' interiors. I drive a truck on a delivery route in a pretty rural part of Kentucky. Just today, I witnessed two black labs fighting in the middle of the road over something. Once I got a little closer, I could tell they were fighting tooth and nail over a severed deer foot. A few weeks ago I was driving up to a farmer's house. Dude has a driveway that's about a mile long. I top the last little hill and I see 3 owls sitting on his fence posts. That was kinda creepy since it was dark and when they turned their heads in my direction, their eyes caught my headlights and lit up pretty bright. Probably the creepiest thing I've ever witnessed was when I drove by a house that was in the midst of being set ablaze by the owner's meth-addled brother. It was relatively late. Around 10. All I see is a spark and then flames in my side mirrors. I heard the next day that the brother whose house was being set on fire came out and beat the dog's peep out of his brother before putting the fire out. Scariest for me was a homeless dude getting pissed that I didn't give him money for food, offering food instead. He said the hot Cheetos bag I offered would tear up his stomach. But he just said he was eating from the garbage. So I was like whatever. I shut the curtain. Then heard a noise behind the truck. He's pounding and screaming. Tells me I shut the door in his face. How he'd never do that. Blah blah. A handful of change makes him leave. And now I have a 40 on my hip when I park. Load bars, chains, and the spare were still there in the morning. So at least he didn't steal anything. I've seen him a couple times since. I was driving Wisconsin, I think in the middle of the night on some 2-lane road, in between a couple small towns, when I get passed by this minivan. It's about 4 a.m. and the road is pretty much deserted. About 3 or 4 minutes later I see a car in my lane and it's smoking. No lights and I hit the brakes and come to a stop right behind it. That's when I notice that it's the minivan that passed me a few minutes earlier and it has had a head-on collision with another car. I call 911 from my cell phone and tell the dispatcher where I am. And then I get out of my truck to see if I can help anyone. Both drivers are dead as far as I can tell. I didn't touch them, but they sure looked dead to me. A few minutes later several cop cars show up and they confirm that nobody has a pulse. Another time I'm driving in the middle of the day on some interstate in Texas, I think. On a road sign ahead I see what I think is an owl just sitting on top of the sign. Never seen an owl before and never thought the first one I would see would be in the middle of the day for some reason. As I'm getting closer I realize that sure enough, it's a rather large owl. Then right as I get near the sign this owl flies off the sign and then I hear this loud thump. I look in my mirrors and see feathers flying all around my truck on both sides. Stupid owl flew right into the airfoil thing on top of my truck and committed suicide. One of my somewhat regular routes was delivering big barrels of cheese from Phoenix, Arizona into Wisconsin. What the hell is Wisconsin doing importing cheese from Arizona? Seriously. WTF. I'm pretty sure I saw a spacecraft. Well, at least I hope I did. My dad was a trucker for years and when he was sleeping at a rest stop one night he woke up to a noise outside of his truck. He saw the glow of a cigarette and the man smoking it offered to smoke my dad's pole and perform other sexual favors. My dad pulled a gun on him and left. There was a story on here a while back by a trucker who shared his creepiest experience while out on the road. It was getting very late and very dark, so he pulled into a rest area off the highway in the middle of nowhere. The place was totally empty, meaning there weren't any other vehicles or people there. While he was getting some shut-eye inside his truck, he heard a faint sound of a barking dog that seemed to get louder and louder as time went by. Eventually the nasty barking sound was coming from right outside his driver's side door. As he got up to look in the window, he didn't see a rabid dog, but instead it was some crazy-eyed person looking directly at him, growling and trying to get in. He started the engine and got the heck out of there.